As the Rafah operation in Gaza almost comes to a close, there's a double message from Israel about Lebanon. The defense minister came back from Washington talking about the need for a diplomatic solution, but leaks and other statements suggest a war is all but imminent. Well, we'll start with I-24 News' Pierre Clochandler in northern Israel with the latest from there. Pierre.
Right, Jacob. I'm not sure that the war is imminent, but definitely the war of attrition between Hezbollah and Israel is going on unabated since October 8th, with sometimes a lull if there is a Muslim festival such as Eid al-Adha 3 weeks ago. But today, for instance, 2 drone infiltrations intercepted over the skies of Lebanon, a targeted killing of an operative from the internal security services. I don't know what this is. A man, 60-year-old, called Mukhieddin Attala, according to Lebanese media, near the city of Tyre in southwest Lebanon. And
this country, Lebanon, is basically controlled by Iran. And too many elements just let it happen. Israel on one hand, the West, maybe France on the other hand, maybe the United States. It just happened, and now it might be too late.
Well, it is unfortunate. Now, I wouldn't go as far as saying that Iran occupies Lebanon, but Iran does control Lebanon completely by buying its own mercenaries, which is the Hezbollah militia. And frankly, this thing did not happen overnight. This has been the culmination of faulty global and especially American policies in Lebanon. In 2008, when there was still a decent opposition to Hezbollah demanding that it disarms, Hezbollah sent its forces to occupy the territories of its allies and maybe kill their leaders.
Iran is trying to get Turkey to support Hezbollah. What would be Turkey's reaction to this?
Well, Turkish foreign minister had a talk with the Iranian deputy foreign minister recently. It seems that, of course, Turkey and Iran are trying to coordinate their response to what might emerge as the war between Israel and Lebanon. And Turkey clearly wants to make sure that this war is not going to spread beyond what happened in Gaza. Therefore, it is collaborating with regional countries. This is one of the reasons why President Erdogan and Syrian President Assad will be meeting in Baghdad under the mediation of Iraq. And it's actually Russia is trying very hard to bring 2 countries together, despite differences. But there's a common interest in terms of border security and the war not spreading into the region. Turkish relations with Hezbollah has been somehow erratic.
Speaking of which, what about the tensions on the Turkish-Syrian border recently? As we speak, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, after the news that Erdogan might be meeting Assad in Baghdad, so that relations between Turkey and Damascus will be normalized, there was a concern among the Syrian opposition forces, supported by Turkey. And on the border, as you said, there have been some skirmishes and Turkish flags were burned and there were anti-Turkish slogans coming. This was quite interesting after what Turkey did for them, as well as hosting more than 6-7 million Syrians in Turkey. So this created an uproar also in Turkey, generating some social tensions we saw in Kayseri, Bursa, and elsewhere. This is also a very dangerous trend, because if there is going to be a peace between Syria and Israel, which will mean the voluntary and orderly return of some Syrians back to their countries, this is very good for Turkey and desperately needed because of its heavy toll on Turkish economy and also political social system. And this created resentment, it seems, among the Syrian opposition forces.
2 more Israeli soldiers died today in Gaza, as many are still wondering what is exactly the government's strategy there. I-24 News' Nicole Sedek reports.
Power work underway in Gaza. These electricians are repairing a main power line in Deir al-Balach, all in a coordinated effort with Israel to boost power to a desalination plant. The new boost could provide 20,000 cubic meters of water daily. That's roughly 20 million liters straight to the humanitarian zone, where some 1.9 million Palestinians are currently seeking shelter. The move not only provides clean water for Palestinian civilians, but is also aimed at preventing diseases that could spread to Israel. However, all the benefits Israel is receiving are also benefits Hamas could be receiving. And it's a decision that's gaining criticism from far-right government officials.
We fell flat on our heads. We are restoring Gaza with our own hands before demobilization, and especially the hospitals, i.e. the terrorist centers. Mr. Prime Minister, stop this foolishness.
This comes one day after another controversial decision, the release of Shifa Hospital Director Abu Salmiya. While there's plenty of evidence pointing to Shifa as a terror hub, there wasn't enough evidence to prove the director was involved in the terror activity.
There's a New York Times report quoting top IDF generals who want a ceasefire in Gaza in order to facilitate a hostage deal. I-24 News' Zach Anders joins us now live with more on that. Let's start with the New York Times report, Zach.
Yeah, a remarkable report. Let's start with, it's a lengthy one, but let's start with some of these Israeli sources. We don't know who they are. They're labeled or told to be generals, and they have that they are of high rank. All of the anonymous sources that are attributed throughout the article. So the New York Times leveraging their credibility, of course, with these high-level sources. These sources are going on to say, one, that troop morale is low among the forces that are inside Gaza, that the war aims are not being met, and that they don't feel as though, or at least the troop morale has not reflected the fact that there has been major progress made inside the Gaza Strip.
And in the West Bank, where you're at, violence is on the rise.
Yeah, that's right. One Israeli man injured this afternoon. From what we can tell, those injuries non-life-threatening, and from what we've heard, expected to make a recovery. In the aftermath, there's already been as many as 4 Palestinians who have been shot by IDF forces in this area that you see behind me. What is unclear is how these exchanges have taken place. We know that overnight there was a raid, an IDF raid inside Nablus, with as many as 15 arrested, and that a weapons cache and lathe used.
It's been 10 years, believe it or not, since ISIS, Daesh, came out in Mosul, Iraq. A bloody anniversary. We are joined by Scott Stewart, VP of Intelligence at Torchstone Global. Thank you very much for joining us. Where are we now today, Scott, 10 years after?
Well, I think that it's important that when we think about the Islamic State, Daesh, that we understand that there's really 3 components that we need to examine. We have the base, the core group that's in Syria and Iraq.
One of the more telling, and I think the thing that should probably be paid attention to the most, is them coming out forward and saying that ammunition shortage is now becoming a factor.